All right, everyone, I'm back with Matt Blanton from Culture to Cash, and we're going to do rapid fire. Well, hopefully we can expose Matt to maybe laughing at himself a little bit. Okay, what are you reading or listening to right now that the audience would find valuable?
Buy Back Your Time, Dan Martell.
Buy Back Your Time.
Yeah, I've read it before. I'm reading it again. And there's been a lot of requests for time and priority management lately. Imagine that. So for right now, that's I'm picking up these pieces again and bringing them back into the fold. And that's one of them is Buy Back Your Time.
If you could meet any person for dinner, who would it be and why? Thinking like influencers.
Yeah, so I'm going to say one from the past. I would say Lincoln. I would love to meet with Lincoln. And then from the current, I would say Hormozi. He's a very, very good influencer and thought leader.
More of a funny one. What sport would you compete in if you were in the Olympics?
Oh, man. Gosh, I'm kind of a fan of several things, but ultimately I would like to be a swimmer because I'm really not good at swimming. So I figured.
I love how people always choose what they're not good at.
Yeah.
It's like I'm aspiring. Oh, that's good. Come on, this is a guy question. What movie could you watch over and over again?
Oh, Braveheart.
Come on, do it.
Which?
Oh, Eddie, is there any parts that? Come on, is there a quote you want to pull out of there? There's so many, but
there's a ton.
All right, we'll just leave it at Braveheart. What would you like to be remembered for?
So my purpose is to elevate consciousness, and that is really about self-actualization, self-realization, and self-transcendence. So that's what I'm after. So if I make a dent in that in any way, shape, or form, I'm doing well.
Are your parents still alive?
Yes.
How do they describe your journey as far as where you were, where you went, and where you become? I know that was grammatically horrible, but you know what I meant.
I get it. I think that's one of the things that we all aspire for is just to have our parents be proud of us. And perhaps in somebody's story in nature, that's not something they aspire for, but it feels good. Mm-hmm. And so my mom's my biggest cheerleader, and my dad is also a huge support. And I think one of the biggest gifts is them reaching out to me for advice.
There, that's it right there.
Yeah, that's probably it.
Oh, here, this is a good one. What do you think your industry will look like in another 5 to 10 years?
I don't know that it's going to change drastically in the sense that coaching and development, I still see a bit hands-on. However, AI is a big disruptor in the sense that there's going to be ways to get FAQs, so to speak, about a particular situation. And there's going to be organizational psychology that's roped into that allows somebody to go in and do a query on how to set something up properly or what to do. It's going to learn their entire business. So I think it's going to make it easier to be more pinpointed in, making those recommendations.
What occupation, other than your own, would you have liked to have tried, or do you think that you were even destined for?
I've always had an affinity to be in the military, and I never got a chance to, but I've been very interested in special forces, things like that. Ever since I was a kid, I would dress up, and so.
No, were both your parents in the military, or
just my dad?
And which branch?
Marines.
I kind of figured as much. Yeah. Except for my son's in the Marines right now. So
awesome.
Yeah, when the minute you said Yuma, I'm like, well, it's got to be Marines.
Yeah.
That's awesome. This one's a deeper one. What did you learn recently? Like something, one of those moving moments of learning.
Yeah. Great question. The biggest thing that I'm taking away and I'm working on right now is paying attention to thoughts. So
go a little deeper on that.
Yeah. What I mean by that is there's whatever's in the background in our subconscious is sending this thought out. It doesn't mean that that's who we are. It doesn't mean that we also have to live by that or own that thought. So let's say, for an example, that I have a thought that, I could be broke, in a year. Well, that's a scary thought. The reality is, no, that's not going to happen at all. And so it's just acknowledgement of thought that's tied to an emotion. And so my wife just coined this, she told me this today, but it's either fear or faith. And so I can live my life in fear, or I can just know that everything will work out as it's supposed to, as long as I'm staying in integrity. But my thoughts are part of that process. So as soon as I say something that induces fear, I have an emotional response to it. Instead, I can address that and say, that's an emotional response. And then I change that and give myself a different thought, overriding that one with some fact or truth. And then I have a different emotional response.
Boy, I'm sure that resonates with just about everyone listening. So that was a good one. Thanks for sharing. Are there some hacks or cheats to make sure that you can turn or switch?
The exercise, and a good person that does this is Chris Doris. So he was a coach for Tiger Woods, and it's a mental toughness coach. So that's part of addressing that and going through an exercise of having the story and then seeing the response based on the emotion to the story.
Good answer. All right, we'll go down some other avenue. What's your favorite ice cream flavor?
Man, I am a sucker for sweets. I have to.
Come on, your cut. You don't look like a sucker for sweets.
I don't say I eat them. Yes. Rocky Road.
Oh, there you go. Here's kind of another touchy-feely one. Do you have a fondest memory as a kid? You ask that question, and what instantly pops in your head?
Fondness, interesting. And I'll just share the first one that popped in. So we had a fair amount of land when I was younger, and being in kind of like on a farm or a lot of land, we had tractors and things like that. I had a rail buggy. That's what they're called back east. They're sand rails out here. But I was driving around. I was 13, 14, and I built a jump, and the jump had to be next to a lake. I hit the jump, went off the jump, went upside down, fell in the lake in the rail buggy. And so I was able to get out. And it wasn't even a thought. It was just, I swam out, and I immediately was like, oh my God, my grandpa's going to kill me, or my uncle, because it's his. And so immediately I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to get this thing out. So I have a fond memory, and I have a picture of it, of me lifting this thing out with the backhoe out of the mud, and I had to rebuild the engine that summer. But it was a beautiful thing because it was sharing time with my uncle and my grandfather.
And let me guess, all they cared about was you.
Possibly.
Well, for that second, like, are you okay, man? Are you okay? Okay, now back to here.
My grandfather was napping but otherwise, yes, I would think so.
Yeah. All right. This one's I love this one. It's kind of a two-folded one. Are you a foodie?
Yes.
Okay. So it's either, what do you love to cook, or like, what's your favorite food pleasure, like that, whether it's ethnic, something, it's just something like that.
The one thing I really enjoy cooking, and my wife likes, and my mom does too, creme brulee.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. So I was a teppanyaki chef for 3.5 years.
Oh.
And I worked in some fine dine as well. And I really had an affinity for making like really fine dine type entrees.
Huh.
And so I love making creme brulee.
All right. And then
sushi.
If you go out, it's sushi?
Ooh, yes.
All right. Fair enough. What's the best advice you've ever been given?
A lot of that has to be driven around, don't let your stories dictate your results. Which is really about just kind of taking a look deeper and having that perspective. Kind of draw a blank on some other ones that have been shared,
That's
but
fine.
It's more of the nuance of it.
No, I like that one.
Captured.
Just a couple more. What skill do you think everyone should have?
I think everybody should work in construction or the restaurant business.
Hallelujah.
Yes. To learn really what it's like to work with people, and also the value of hard work for $1.
Yeah. It's funny, as a construction guy, that I did the same F&B thing. And I tell everyone, I've been in construction now for how many years, and I still tell everyone, go in F&B for a while, because you want to learn how to deal with people, you got to go to F&B.
Yes.
Especially be a waiter, be a server, do something, be a bartender. I don't care. Just do something. Be a back line cook. You'll figure it out quickly.
And I think that, so going back to advice is, it has to do with judgment and also just being more sympathetic to situations and asking, does that serve me? So I think the advice would be asking the question, does this serve me? And it's in decision-making. So quick example would be if somebody cuts you off, what good is it to get super irate? If everything's okay, just pull to another lane, move on. Don't carry that with you because that shit isn't going to serve.
Yeah, I'm thinking of how appropriate that is in the environment we live in with all the snowbirds and everything. Maybe we could put out a billboard. Matt Blanton says.
It's a practice, I'll tell you that.
Too funny. All right, final one, and then I'll get you on your way. Do you have a guilty pleasure? Other than your sweets.
I don't know that it's anything but sweets. A guilty pleasure would likely be a movie.
Oh.
I really like going to a movie.
Nothing guilty about that.
Well,
it is if you get the tub of popcorn with eating butter.
Popcorn's great, but I enjoy the experience of going, and I love sharing that with a family member or something like that. So,
well, thanks again for coming on today.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It was nice meeting you.
Yeah, likewise.